Hey guys, can you hear me? Are we live? Are we live? Yes, we are live. So I'm going to talk about Facebook is Meta now. So what are the consequences and what people think about Facebook being Meta? So let me just start the room and talk to the people on ClubHouse about this. We have started the room. Hey guys, how's everybody? So we are here to discuss Facebook is now Meta. So what you guys think about this change? What you think that this change is gonna bring us? Is it going to be beneficial for Facebook and other people or not? And how do you see this change? That's what we are going to discuss. So there are plenty of people in the room now. I'm going to invite you to share your thoughts about Facebook is now Meta, what you think about this change and how this change is going to affect the company, how this change, since Facebook is a social company, how the change is going to affect the social connections we have. This is what we are going to discuss today. uh, you all are invited and would love to chat you with you guys about this. And yeah, the people who don't know me, I'm somebody who's working in virtual reality and augmented reality space for past 8 years, and Untile Studios, which is a service-based company since 2015. The other company is XRDI, and which is more of a community than a company, where we talk about virtual reality and augmented reality democratization. So we have plenty of people in the speaker panel. I'm going to go one by one. So first is, I guess, Pratham. Pratham, I'll talk to you about Facebook and how do you see this change first?
So actually, I think Facebook is trying to create a 3D virtual ecosystem where means you will get all from money, virtual meeting, shopping, etc.
Yeah, that is correct. So that is completely true that Facebook is building one ecosystem where you can basically connect to each other. We usually connect to each other with Facebook and all products of Facebook like Instagram, like WhatsApp. But now they want to focus more on the 3D and the XR. XR is extended reality. So that seems to
Right,
be their
right.
focus now. So yeah, do you want to add something on this onto it?
Uh, does Facebook means only responsible for which does means any company will also do like Facebook or only Facebook will be in this?
Uh, I didn't get your questions exactly. Can you repeat yourself?
Yeah, he was just trying to say that if any other company is trying to build their own metaverse, like
Wi-Fi. Looks like my Wi-Fi connections is not that good. So yes, now I have connected to a separate Wi-Fi. Now you guys can hear me properly. Now I can connect to you guys better and talk to you guys better about this. Yeah. First, can you guys hear me now properly? Am I
Yeah,
audible
yeah, we
any
can.
better?
So I think the question that was asked was how which are the other companies that are working in the metaverse space. So there are a lot of companies that are working in the meta space. But it's not just the Facebook. Even Microsoft is working on it. There's another company called Roblox Epic, that's a game company for Fortnite. Then there's Fastly, then there's Nvidia, there's Autodesk, there's Shopify. So there are a lot of companies that are working on metaverse, and it's not something which is a new concept altogether. It's just that all these concepts were not picking up because you were not having an underlying technology which could help you to efficient enough. Public blockchains are efficient enough to do that for you. These metaverse things are going to be a reality that is going to be there. What they are trying to focus on, and what is like something that I particularly like or I dislike is, so I dislike something here is basically Facebook is banking upon the data that it has already gathered from us, which it is going to use to create that metaverse, which is something I don't like, because the ethos of metaverse and everything is about decentralization. And again, what's in the market, because it is a top leader in the data factory that it has. A positive thing would be like, because Facebook has done something like that, being a giant doing something like this, it is something where it has created a lot of traction, a lot of people. So if you see all the blockchain or the public blockchain tokens as well, they almost 2x in 2 days, once after the announcement was made. So a lot of people will get, a lot of people who are not knowing about it, they will be attracted towards the industry. So one positive but a big negative that is there from the industry.
Thanks for putting the perspectives. These are really good points which you bring. But I don't think really that Facebook or the Meta now has much to do with the decentralized thing, because it's still a owned company by Facebook itself, Meta itself, and I don't think that blockchain and decentralization has much to do with the metaverses. Uh,
You won't be able to run the systems on
No, no,
metaverse if
that
the
is
blockchain is not there.
absolutely incorrect. Without decentralization, we can run metaverses. That is completely fine.
I
Uh,
never said decentralization. Decentralization and blockchain are two different things.
no, no, I know, but blockchains doesn't have to be used in a metaverse. They are completely for
Who's
a
gonna maintain the database? Who's gonna maintain the database for all the purchases and everything that you're going to do on that metaverse?
So that doesn't have to technically be associated with metaverse. The purchases system is a completely different thing. I think metaverse has more to do with how people interact to each other in a virtual space, or a virtual portal where people could connect to each other, which is already available technology. And as you pointed correctly, that Microsoft own a similar technology, and there are other people in the game as well. So Facebook is not the first, but Facebook is definitely a strong player which has a lot of data related to people. They already have 2 billion people on WhatsApp, so they're gonna use that data and everything to promote and to acquire more people into these metaverses. So that is completely correct. Next, I would move to Subbu. And Subbu, hi, firstly, and yeah, we had conversations earlier as well. So would love to know about your thoughts on the Facebook Meta.
Hey, hi, Avi. I mean, great. It's happy to see that big companies like Facebook and Microsoft and even in India, Geo and all of them are actually jumping into this AR and VR field. Uh, I'm still thinking this as an experiment, even though actually the Facebook is trying something new in this. I'm yet to see what changes it will bring to the society. I'm very curious about it. I would feel this as a big experiment, in a very large scale experiment in the space of AR and VR. I'm very curious on what is going to happen, rather than thinking that okay, claiming that it's going to do a massive change, massive disruption and all. Because usually what happens is, if a big company tries something, it doesn't mean that it will result in something revolutionary. It's always the small companies which do something and that turns out to be a revolutionary startup, and then that becomes a bigger company, how the Facebook actually started. But then if Facebook is actually trying something new, I mean that necessarily need not have to be something very big, but it definitely is a big experiment in the AR and VR space. And if that gets successful, I think that's a very big boom in AR and VR industry. I'm very hopeful and I'm very curious, I can say more than hopeful, about this massive step from Facebook. And I'm also feeling that if Facebook, such a big company who has actually understood the people's interaction ways and people ways of living from this long, I mean, if somebody has understood how people interact, I think that should be
Yes.
Facebook, because that's the biggest social networking platform. So I think they would have done their due diligence. They would have understood the people's behavior and how they can actually bring people to through the metaverse. I think they would have done something, some exercise of their own. So I'm pretty curious about this. Thank you.
These are some amazing perspectives, Subbu. Thanks for bringing these. Next, I'll move to Gaurav. Hi, Gaurav. Welcome on the conversation. And would love to know your opinions about Facebook transitioning to a completely metaverse-oriented company. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Thank you, Avi, for pulling me up. And I'm not much well versed with the what do you say issue at hand, but I would like to point a couple of things which I was going through with this knowledge or with this space metaverse thing. So this is a very interesting field to be in. But when Facebook changes their name to Meta, I mean, my understanding here might be wrong as well, but I would like to listen to other people as well here. So my understanding of Facebook changing, rebranding themselves as Meta is basically giving an umbrella to all the sister concerns which they are running, because every time anything happens, all of the focus has to shifts to Facebook be one of the products. They have 9 to 10 products in the market, 9 to 10 companies running with 9 to 10 different products. So like Google changed themselves to Alphabet, Facebook similarly changed to Meta, and now they are working on a different technology. They have been always working on AR and VR. So this is the reason they have bought Oculus way back, and they've been trying to develop and rebrand it again and again. In 2017 they also come up with an idea of VR is going to be feature, but that didn't work out. But this metaverse kind of a thing, if they want to enter into this specifically, that is going to be a game changer for them, because that is where the revenue lies for advertisers a lot. It is going to be in e-commerce, it is going to be in healthcare, it is going to be in meetings. So Microsoft also launched their product, which was related to avatars, which was more of comprehensive meeting kind of a platform. They launched it in back in 2020, I guess, or early 2021. So yeah, that is now future with where people want to have more interactive what do you say is things going on here. And one of the persons who was mentioning that there has to be a decentralized system. I'm not sure about that decentralized system, because as of now, when you talk about economics, so we haven't moved into that space now that we can actually decentralized, even we are not able to decentralize what do you say is the crypto thing going on in the market right now. So or maybe basic payment things, basic finance things, so we are not able to decentralize as of now. So that is going to be taking a lot of time, and to run that, that is going to be run by companies giants like who are into all financial sectors. So yeah, that is what my understanding is, and metaverse is quite a thing to look forward to. It is, I believe, is kind of a future in itself. So yeah, thanks.
Absolutely, Gaurav. Yes, I spoke about that how it doesn't necessarily have to be a decentralized network or dependent on blockchain systems. It traditionally, with the traditional technologies, Facebook will be capable of running the metaverse. But however, we also saw the glimpse of NFT implementation within the metaverse, which draws my attention heavily there in the when we were looking at that presentation yesterday. We also streamed that presentation on XRDI platform. So next, I'll move to Dhruv. Dhruv, would love to listen to you about your thoughts on this Facebook to Meta transition.
Yeah, hi guys. So, to be clear, I'm a complete layman when it comes to technology. Uh, so I don't really understand technology well. What I do understand is business and commerce. So, I mean, I was just looking at Avi, your profile. It seems like you obviously know a lot more about technology than I do. So I was actually curious, I just because it's all over the news right now, and it seems pretty interesting because I think it's going to change a lot of things, especially with e-commerce, like someone had pointed out before me. So it's interesting. So there are a lot of things which I are in the gray area for me. I don't understand the technology, but when it comes to the commerce, I'm thinking how it could probably change the e-commerce scene in India. Maybe Amazon will have to pull up their pants, start doing thinking in another way or something. So yeah, I just wanted to listen to what you guys have to say. Probably more important than what I can say at this point.
I loved your perspective, Dhruv. Since you said that you are not completely into technology, but you see this from your own perspectives of business understanding. So that is what we need to do. It does not. Everybody does not have to be a technical person to take advantage or to be a part of this metaverse or build something on top of it. Whatever you are expert of, just use the technology as a tool to build whatever you want to build, or take advantages of metaverse which is coming ahead of us. So Sandeep ji is here. Sandeep, welcome to you on this conversation. Yesterday, Facebook converted itself into the Meta, which is now a metaverse-oriented company. So, what is your thoughts on this?
Hi Avi, hi everyone. Thanks for having me here. I think it was quite obvious that these guys are going to do this. Avi, my view was, and I think I have been expecting this from the time these guys started becoming serious and committing. I think around $10 billion in the entire VR space, and I think Facebook being a big player, and I think when they shift gears, I think others also starts getting excited, whether it is smaller startups or, and you also saw starting with Tencent to other bigger corporations also committing funds towards propelling the VR space in general. And I think Facebook as per se was a 2D brand in that perspective, but I think when they are going all 3D, I think it was quite obvious that thing which reflects the infinite aspects of what 3D brings into perspective. And I think it is quite logical that they are heading that particular way. So I think it was just coming. It was just a matter of time for them to basically figure out whether the initial success of VR is taking up. But I think all the hype which is going on, I think it's for them a very natural progression to change the name and move on towards that.
That's really true, Sandeep ji. I also see this as a very natural progression for Facebook. Somebody has to do it, and Facebook was the best one to do it since they are pushing so much into, let's say, augmented reality filters, or they are pushing heavily into virtual reality subsidies and everything. So, of course, I was also looking forward that when this gonna happen, and finally it happened. One thing that definitely helped them is the hype that the term metaverse gonna give them, because it's relatively newer for the market of general understanding. In the yesterday's event, they didn't talk much of the technology, and they talk it from the perspective of the end user. So no surprises for people who are already like into the technology and into the metaverse and building stuff with technology. But it was more about the marketing game of getting the most people on the end know about the product and how what their plans of the future are. So that's why we didn't saw any newer headset. The Quest was enough to maintain the hype for now. So yeah, these are some really good perspectives, Sandeep ji. I would move to Anoop. So Anoop, would love to listen to you about your thoughts on Facebook metaverse transition.
Hey, thank you, Avi, for pulling me up, and hello, everybody. So, my perspective is that this is something that was, you know, expected, and in my view, this is a clear move for Facebook, towards that Web3 space, right? So there are different perspectives about what is Web3, but overall, we all know that it is all about building decentralized infrastructure and decentralized solutions on top of that. And Mark Zuckerberg, he definitely understands this better than anybody else. So in the next 5 to 10 years, all the Web 2 companies, potentially including Facebook and Amazon, blockchain would be disrupted by decentralization, would be disrupted by, you know, a number of, layer 2 and layer 3 solutions that is going to come on top of that. And, today the market is already lucrative when it comes to the Web 3.0 space and the crypto space, right? 2.7 trillion is pretty much what the market cap is, and NFTs are selling like hotcakes. I think somebody yesterday bought one of the CryptoPunk NFT for 400 million or something, and then he told, Mark Zuckerberg is not as rich like this to buy an NFT with this amount of money, whatever. But the point is, Facebook's foray into this space is a clear indicator that they are seeing the Web 3.0 decentralized dynamic as a threat. And when you really look at the big five, that is Facebook, Google, Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft. In my view, only Facebook and Twitter is getting it, right? They are still founder led. So they are able to, at least think about pivoting, whether that would be successful or not. I personally, don't like seeing Facebook being a brand ambassador of Web 3.0, right? I would like to see that more as a, equal opportunity evolution, um, for a number of new startups who are coming in that space. But irrespective of that, I think they are also jumping the bandwagon, and obviously, as we all know, all the crypto funds are now becoming gaming funds, and a number of metaverses are evolving across on top of all the different chains, right? I mean, with scaling solutions like Illuvium on top of Ethereum, now with Solana, a number of new metaverses are coming up. So these decentralized ecosystems where people can actually transact is coming up, and Facebook really want to start monetizing with NFTs. They already have a good user base, so why not? I mean, it's a good bet in my view. At least I respect him for that bold decision, whether it will be successful or not. Personally, I don't like to see that move being successful because I think that will kind of drag us away from the philosophy of Web 3.0 and the equal opportunity and a truly decentralized future. But I respect him for that decision.
That is some serious thing to talk about, Anoopji. As you mentioned, the concern about Facebook leading the Web 3.0 and how a lot of startups already working in this direction, putting really real hard work in the field, and Facebook gonna take over most of the limelight. These are some serious concerns. So, Sandeep, I'll come back to you. There is one more thing I would like to ask your opinion about. That is a $150 million of budget Facebook announced for people who are especially in education related creation into metaverse and into virtual reality and augmented reality space. So, for creators, they have announced this sort of budget. Uh, so, what is your opinion about this since you are already into edtech business and would love to know your thoughts about?
Currently, not much away for us. What I am particularly, I'm in a wait and watch mode to look at a little bit more explosion happening in the space. Basically, because I think the core background technologies which all of these are going to be built, I think is going to only get built in the next 3 to 4 years. And I think I would want to wait and watch before investing. And I think all the bigger players will basically help us build the platform nicely so that others can actually plug and play. But I think when Facebook is trying to become what when the Android system came in with Google, right, and they wanted to bring in a lot of players into the field. Facebook is trying to do that with actually announcing and saying that we need more people who will develop apps for the metaverse, right? And when I say when I say apps for metaverse, it's a synonym. It's from the sense that in metaverse, what are we going to call these apps? I'm not very sure what are they going to call, but we need very 3D stuff which are going to come out with, and I think Facebook wants to be the platform on which people want to be they want people to keep building stuff so that Facebook can then own everything. And I completely agree with Anup. I do not like Facebook sitting on top of things. I do not like the data going through Facebook. They have been notorious, and I think they have been notoriously public about these kind of things. And with the humongous set of stuff which they already have and the information they have with the current social networking platform, this is going to, and with 3D, and when people are going, like for example, imagine there will be a clubhouse in metaverse, and people, like, instead of us seeing each other's pictures, we'll be having probably 3D avatars, and you will even see my emotions and expression, not me with my real face, may not be with some artificial face or something like that. But when this is going to happen like that, I think it's a very dangerous spectrum when Facebook holds that kind of data, right? And they can basically, and in 3D spaces, right, when all our senses are going to be involved. With mobile phones, we know how dangerous and addictive it is, and when the entire 3D avatars and 3D spaces are going to be involved, I think it's a huge risk. And let's hope the others also pan out, and we have, like Rahul keeps saying, a truly decentralized way. And I would also agree with Anup saying that that is the way we need to go forward. But I think for us, it's wait and watch. We are not going to do any heavy investment there, but this is a space I am going to be closely watching, and I'm damn sure there will be a group of people who will go ahead and develop a set of things. But I think once we see some certain leeway, then only we will want to take a leap of faith, at least at this point of time. That's my view. But then I think Facebook will commit more money, basically to see that more and more people, yeah, they're trying to hire 10,000 developers into the metaverse world, and that means a lot of big plans, right? That definitely means they are going to do something really large and bring in all, because it's going to be very different with respect to the architecture what they used with Facebook, which is almost a decade plus old, to what is going to come for the next decade. I think they have to re-gig and redo a lot of things, but I think they are sitting on some very strong foundations, and which sometimes is very scary also. So let's hope it works out well, yeah, and a lot of more players come in and decentralize the way they are holding. And even the login, yeah, it's pretty stupid with what they're doing with Oculus, right? You have to need to have a Facebook account so that they can port all the data from there to here and look at what the heck you are seeing, right? So that's some very dangerous data sets.
That is
I
correct, Sandeep ji. I totally agree to a lot of points there, most of the points there. So now I'll move to Ram. So Ram, would love to listen to you about your perspectives on what's going on with this with this transition from Facebook becoming Meta.
Hi all. I don't know much about the metaverse being, but what I found on surfing is like they actually want to build a real world out of virtual things. So I don't know what are the harm things. Sandeep said some beautiful things also. So I'm all ears now. I don't know what to expect from them.
Avi, I would like to come in here.
Yeah, please, Rahul, go ahead.
Sandeep, Anup, Gaurav, but I would like to point out something here, right? Probably Facebook saw something about an existential threat to their platform and the way they were exploiting the data of people without their consent, right? When blockchain and decentralized systems came about, they demonstrated that people and community can take ownership of the values that they care about and the products that come out of it. So obviously, the next step was, and all these game engines were many of them being open source. There were a huge possibility that Facebook would be completely become irrelevant. So now, by forming under a Meta banner, what they can do is they can now pump in money to create a new kind of a game engine where compilation is not required, and you are directly streaming 3D assets or 2D assets, whatever it is, people are building and deploying right into the metaverse. I think that somebody like this to jump in, and they needed to create a market, but at the same time, there are decentralized forces which will then take the cake further. And the once enough awareness is spread that that these group of people are not having the same values, and these other new decentralized systems have better respect for your uh, personal data, etc. So then people can be brought over on that. But again, this is also a struggle between crypto and fiat in a way, because the fiat systems require you to monitor data in some conditions. So let's see how it plays out.
That is true.
Can I just add a point, Avi?
Yeah, please,
Sorry.
Anupji.
No, I thought Rahul made an excellent point there. Um, especially um, about the existential threat that Facebook, you know, might have realized, right? I do think that is spot on because you look at every Web 2.0, big tech company, it's basically they are selling the users, they are pretty much stealing your attention, and that attention is what they actually sell, to make money out of that, right? So that is true for Facebook, that is true for, you know, Google. Now, the conscious the overall understanding among people are growing and the concerns are growing, and I do think that's a very valid point about this existential threat that Rahul mentioned. The only maybe one good thing that could come out of this is this could at least or hopefully at some point, right? So this could improve the overall awareness of Web 3.0 and crypto and metaverse. So I'm hoping that this could at least make the whole crypto conversation mainstream, because so far the user adoption when it comes to the experience part of crypto is not that widespread, right? So there are a ton of use cases that everybody is already realizing in the backend, but when it comes to a normal user, I would still argue for regular crypto scenarios, the entry is hard. If Facebook could actually open up that channel for all the users in the world, and if they could come up with a wallet in their app, right, and maybe integrate that with you know some DeFi backend, like Ethereum, for example, right? I mean, I'm just hoping. I'm pretty sure they will just go with their own chain. But if they actually become like a consolidation platform for multiple blockchains that exist out there, like Ethereum, like Solana, and do something like that. I'm just hoping that it could be a path that would drive crypto adoption mainstream, and that's the only good thing that I see coming out of it from that awareness perspective.
Anupji, I have
And I
one
do
more
agree. Yeah.
question on this. So I don't see
Yep.
anytime soon Facebook's uh, adoption of crypto in any way. So Facebook is heavy on data. Facebook wants to regulate the money, and I think they are going to focus on these sort of things and regulating everything by themselves rather making it decentralized. So what
But
is your
NFT is crypto, right?
NFT is crypto, that is for sure. They're gonna allow the render it on their platforms, but NFT is a different kind of crypto. They you can and I'm really sure that Facebook gonna come up with their own platform, their own kind of a store where you could purchase these NFTs rather than. But the money you're gonna invest is not going to go through crypto. Might be it go through the other channels like their own regulated channels. What is your opinion on this? Do you think the same
So first
or
of all, right. So my when I use crypto, I pretty much use crypto not as in a currency or Bitcoin or anything like that, right? So I talk about crypto, you know, much like crypto as in Web3, right? So, it's more or less that space, where you have a lot of decentralized layer one infrastructure chains, layer twos and layer threes building on top of that. So I use in that is pretty much my terminology. So I don't necessarily mean when I talk about crypto, I don't necessarily mean Facebook is going to come up with you know potentially a decentralized transaction mechanism with their own currency or something, which is something that you cannot deduct because you know that they are already working on their Libra platform, right? I mean, Dime is the name of their currency, the cryptocurrency. But at least when you really look at NFTs, NFTs are pretty much basically they are also very much crypto tokens, right? Non-fungible tokens, and the validity of NFT is that it is something that is on chain, right? And now today, if you really look at the NFT ecosystem, Ethereum is probably the biggest ecosystem where every artist is there minting their NFTs, through windows like OpenSea or or any of these platforms. So nothing prevents Facebook from integrating with those existing blockchain backends. So I do think they will do that. Once, but I also agree with the observation that they may not let people log in through a wallet or something, right? And so it's probably because they don't want like take or give away the whole back to the user, which will eat into their business model. So I'm also curious to see how they evolve that business model, how they pivot to something different without completely killing the revenue today. But they have a declining revenue model through ads and the user data monetization. Everybody know that it is not going to continue, especially EU and all these bodies are actually pushing a lot of sanctions now in US as well. People are becoming more and more aware. So they see a major threat to their existing business model. So this is a pivot that they are making, and initially they may not give the whole power to the users. They might just focus on the experience part of it, which is a good deal. I mean, if you look at Robo, what is the name of the metaverse platform that went recently public? Roblox, right? Roblox.
Roblox.
So Roblox, their valuation is 32 billion, and each quarter they are selling digital goods worth of, I think close to 300 million each quarter in that platform. People are buying these digital goods. So the digital marketplace and the digital economy, the metaverse economy is already booming, right? So Facebook probably want to eat that pie first before getting into mainstream crypto once they figure out the business model. But I agree with you. I mean, they may not disrupt what they have today. I mean, it's not necessarily, I didn't mean to say that they will allow everybody to log in with their wallet and do the transactions in a decentralized manner on day one. They might have a path to monetize from that when they get there. So, Avi, I don't know if that answered your question, but at least,
Yeah. That really gives
that's
me a
my
lot of new
perspective.
perspectives to think about. Thanks, Anu, for enlightening me on this particular part. So I was really confused before having a conversation with you about this, and now I have a slight clear idea about this transition. So now I'll talk to Jitendra. Jitendra would love to know about your thoughts on this.
Sure, Ravi. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Am I audible? Yes.
Yeah, you are audible, but
Yes,
voice
you
is
are.
really low.
Okay. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, voice is a little on the lower end.
Uh,
Yeah,
now it's perfectly fine. Yeah.
still a little low.
Now it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, can you try reconnecting?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll do that. I'll do that.
Yeah, let's wait for him. He
Am I
must be.
am I okay now?
I can hear you, but still the same.
Yeah.
Still, we can hear you. Yeah, just
Okay. That's
stay
pretty
closer
fine.
to the mic. We can hear you. Yeah.
That's pretty fine. But if I go with the Facebook, different people have different perspective, and Mark Zuckerberg, he is keeping things in a different way at every platform. It says that the company would be a better encompasses with what it does now, as it broadens its reach beyond the social media into the areas like virtual reality. And if you really go with the skeptics suggestions regarding this attempt, it says that Facebook is away from so-called for this the metaverse life, and they want to just change on the papers of Facebook. But when you come with the reality, with the VR and AR platforms, it's going to accessible across all over the different computing platforms. It maybe like include your PCs, mobile devices, game consoles, and everything. And it seems that metaverse is going to be a next great leap for the internet, which
Hello, Jiten. Can you hear me? Hello. Am I audible, guys? I think my connection should be fine. Hi, Harsh. I guess you are next. Would you like to go and talk about what you think of the transition from Facebook to Metaverse? I think my connection is not working well. Let me restart the Clubhouse app. I'm just going to restart the app, guys. Wait for a second. Let me just re-log in the app. So connection issues. I know there are a lot of connection issues. I'm just trying to re-log in and let's talk to the community about what they think of the metaverse. So it's just getting logged in. Hold on, I'm just trying to re-log in. Uh, Please put in the comment that what you guys think about the metaverse. What is your opinion and what are your thoughts on how the metaverse works and what could be the Facebook scheme of transitioning to metaverse. So I'm rejoining the conversation. Hey guys, am I audible now?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, Avi.
All right, all right. Okay, I have connected, and now I guess we can continue. Jitendra was talking last. So Jitendra, are you done putting your point here?
Yes, yes, I did, Avi.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Jitendra. I missed a lot of conversation because my network lagged. I'll
I shot it because Sandeep was saying that Facebook is connecting with the Oculus, and it may be somewhere it going to track our all the data. Maybe it connect with our Fitbit, it connect our heart. It will track our heart rate, face, eye retinas, and fingerprints and everything, which already Facebook is doing. Facebook have every data of us, and going to be a more wider way where it's going to track our every movement, ecocentric data. Uh, Not sure that how much secure it will be when it goes to the meta version. So that's it. The end I was discussed about. Thanks, I'm done speaking. Over to you.
Thanks, Jiten, for concluding this. I'll move to Roland now. Roland, would love to listen to you. That what are your opinions on this transition of Facebook being metaverse now?
Thank you, Avi. So, I guess any company is free to choose the name it wants,
Of course.
right? The question I would ask, though, is whether they really put sufficient thought into the choice of the word meta. Meta, in its original meaning, means transcendental. In its evolved meaning, it is self referential. And possibly because in current language today, the word meta is used in ordinary day to day language to emphasize a point with some sort of transcendence. And if you look at the way the word meta is used, my thought is that they just wanted to choose that as a means of indicating that they want to own that space. However, what I would say is this is not surprising. It was expected for a number of reasons. First, the way it handled the regulatory and legal scrutiny with regards to user safety and hate speech forced them to change their branding. The second was the battle they were having with Apple. The third was the technical integration of its different main products, meaning WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. As we know, they tried Messenger on Facebook, that didn't really work out well for them. So they integrated everything on a single platform. So the question for me is not so much about the change in name, but whether this change in name will be accompanied by a change in behavior, in how they as a company behave, interact with their users, and contribute positively to society. That for me is the big question. Having said that, though, I think there is still a long way to go. I mean, 10 days ago, 9 days ago, they announced the change in corporate structure to reflect existing revenue producing brands from those that are in development. If you look at the last 16 years, from 2005 to today, Facebook has acquired more than 70 companies, 78, give or take 5. They have to start producing revenues for those companies. The question therefore becomes, how do they integrate this in a meaningful way that adds value, leveraging AR and VR? Because ultimately, the metaverse is predicated upon AR and VR, but let's not forget the core capability that has generated revenue for the company so far has been advertising. And I don't see them moving away from advertising anytime soon. Thank you. I'm done.
Thanks, Roland, for mentioning that Facebook is a advertise-oriented company, and they are not going to metaverse or not. They are not going to move ahead from that perspective. Anshita is here. Anshita would love to listen to you about your thoughts on metaverse and Facebook transitioning to Meta.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Anshita Vishwakarma. So, first of all, I want to go with the word meta. So, it's a Greek word actually, which means beyond. So, by this word meaning, we can conclude that Mark is really thinking beyond what Facebook has been doing since so many years. So I think it's now moving towards more into virtual reality. So I think the transition of Facebook is now more towards building a platform for more into virtual reality. That's my point.
Thanks, Anshita,
Thanks,
for the
Sanshita, for the
perspective.
perspective.
Would love to
Would
move
love
to
to move
Harsh.
to Harsh.
Harsh would like to listen to you about your thoughts on the Meta transition.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So the name, right, Meta, like Roland sir said, it could be one of the purposes. Like even I feel it's kind of skeptical, right? Because the word Meta, like if you just tell it to any kind of common person, right, like who gets introduced to metaverse in general, they just think that it's something run by Facebook. So that could be one of the reasons. Like, yeah, that's it. I would like to add. For now.
I would
Yeah,
also like to add in
Rahul.
one more point over here.
Yes, please.
So this move also reminds me of the way how the Microsoft had pivoted. Like when Microsoft was under Steve Ballmer, if that's right, they were more focused on making Windows as the most acceptable platform, right? So all the tricks in the book that even Facebook uses today, like Oculus needs Facebook login, etc., those tricks were also deployed by Microsoft at that time. But when Nadella came around, I think they had a shift in strategy where open source was preferred and the whole company integration sort of worked in a two-phase manner. One is uh, their Windows operating system and also embracing the open source ecosystem. I think that this is also a similar kind of a strategy on Facebook's part.
Yeah, I
So
agree to
Rahul,
you. Yeah, Sandeep ji.
yeah, no, one. See the why I don't believe that Rahul, though that's a possibility. I think maybe we'll have to wait, but I think as long as Zuckerberg is on the top of the things and he has made his intentions quite clear publicly, also saying that he is probably not going to step down. I think the way he operates, right? Maybe whatever the brand does, maybe whatever the marketing publicity stunt is there. I think they, I think one of the first things they would always try to do is make the multiverse look like a way where people can hang out very coolly, just like when Facebook came in, so that the tractionality is there. And once user starts getting hooked on is when you will start seeing the real avatars and the intentions of what they have. And that I think is not too much. And I do not think they are going to go very far from what the core of what Facebook stands with. And I think it has to do a lot with the leader at the helm of things. So unless there is a shift of that which is going to happen, I am not really very positive about that at this point of time.
But I
Just
would
a
like
couple
to,
of my cents here.
yeah, I would like to quickly rebut that and say, it's about the content. Who's making the content for the metaverse now? Whether it is that company which is going to hire all the content creators and then channel down the content into the metaverse, or they are going to make it open so that anyone can come and build it on top of it. And who owns the rights to that? I think that for that they will need a different kind of thought process.
I
Rahul,
agree.
sorry.
Go on, Roland. Go on.
So I don't know if you listened in to the announcement that Zuck made yesterday. What I found quite interesting was the wording of the announcement. The way he change of brand was, we look to build products and services around the customer, not for the customer, not with the customer, but around the customer, which highlights the immersive experience, but at the same time doesn't say that the customer is an integrative part or there are other stakeholders, which means that it continues to be an extractive model, not an empowering model. Hope that helps. I'm done.
Rightly put, Roland. I think I agree with Roland on that, Rahul. The emphasis, right? And I think Rahul, Facebook is not really interested uh, in doing all what you said. Application will be like app developers. As long as you are the super highway, you can always manage that. And just adding with respect to what I think previously, right? Anup was there and Avi was asking this question. I think what they could do is they could also do a quasi model with respect to the super highway, with respect to when it comes to how we manage the crypto or the block part of it, right? Where they can wait and watch and look at what is the mechanism they can create below all these layers, so that usability comes in first for the user and they are not really worried too much about it, and then crack the entire scenario. Then they could do that, right, where you can acquire one of the third or the fourth crypto company, and they can do that anytime when they want to it. But I think they're more worried now, saying that get the people attracted and hooked onto the metaverse, and then build the entire thing back end, so that people don't really feel or talk about it, and by the time people realize they're already hooked.
Exactly the point that I am trying to make, which is, for me, the word meta and the way it has been presented and articulated is what I would say describe as metastasis, a cancer that is spreading. And we, as users, need to make a choice. Do we want to be part of it or not? And I think there are going to be many other options out there that we can choose from.
Roland, but I do agree with your point, but I would not go as far as to call it cancerous in a way, because when if you look at the Oculus Quest 2 device, it is one of the most amazing experiences that they have created, and they've actually shown the path. And if we take this further with open source hardware and open source software, create our own kinds of, but at least we have a reference point here. And even if Facebook creates one or two versions of the metaverse, I'm sure that we have a lot of ability in the world right now to be able to create completely decentralized metaverses based on whatever learnings that they provide for us.
Well, learnings are there if you want to look others, but learnings are also very much about the questions we as individuals want to ask, not do copy paste. So, honestly, I am not in favor of a propaganda and surveillance machine like that one.
Just to add on to what Roland said, Rahul, like for example, the danger there lies, right? Yes, does it help the ecosystem in some front on the VR space? Yes, but ultimately, when you look at it, right, even if Telegram came up with the best of intentions, what really happens is people got hooked already to WhatsApp, and they were not really, though they all installed and tried. I think they're still back in WhatsApp and continuing what they're doing. If people end up doing that in the metaverse universe, and Facebook is the first player doing that, it's a dangerous trend.
Oh, but
Also,
that's how you will survive.
I don't see anywhere Facebook is going towards open source or decentralized. Facebook has far away from these intentions. The only open source or decentralized metaverse I could see in the future is coming from VR chat only. They are already open source, and that is built by the community. And there is the I guess there are a few good candidates as well, but I guess VR chat would be the greater and better one version of these metaverses that we can see in the upcoming future.
I have a point to actually add. Maybe I don't know how it makes sense, but uh, the reason why I think Facebook is trying to shift so much towards metaverse and trying to bring this 3D virtual content now is I think Facebook don't want to miss out the AR revolution that if it may happen, as in the people would actually shift towards the AR glasses and be comfortable with it, and then that would become the next smartphone. If such a kind of a revolution is going to happen, I think Facebook don't want to miss that space, and that's why it's actually trying to get into that space early on. That could be one of the possibility why it's actually trying so much into it. I mean, Facebook could have tried the best available this AR glasses and even had a the engagement with it, and maybe it has felt that that's the future. That's one of the possibilities that I'm actually thinking. Why Facebook is actually trying so much into the metaverse and virtual things. Thank you.
So, if I may just say something.
Yeah, please.
So, if we have seen anything happen as a result of the pandemic, is that what was physical has become digital or made an effort, a greater effort than before, to become digital. Agreed? Now,
Absolutely,
what does that
absolutely.
mean? Now, what does that mean? So let's get real for a minute here. Businesses, retail shops had to close. As they were in lockdown, they started reanalyzing their businesses. And if I walk around the streets of London, I notice many major brand stores boarded up. Announcements that they are closing down or reducing the number of outlets. So, what does that tell me? That there is going to be a shift in retail experience that is going to be delivered to the customer. So, in that shift of the retail experience that is going to be delivered to the customer, guess what? AR and VR start to play a bigger role. Airbnb announced 2 weeks ago that they were into lettings of flats and houses of people. Now they're going to do short term lettings of retail stores for pop up stores in London. And if you're going to do pop up stores, then you want to start looking at delivering new experiences to customers where you're going to leverage AR and VR. And therefore, yes, I think AR and VR will be a natural trend in how you deliver more engaging experiences to customers. The question, therefore, for me is how would a Facebook start integrating that into advertising? And what implications does it have for data collection, privacy, security, etc., etc.? I think those are the questions that we really need to be discussing, but somehow they're getting lost in translation. Thank you. I'm done.
Yeah, these are some awesome perspectives, Roland. I'll try to move to Adil as well. Adil is here. Adil would love to listen to your opinions about Facebook transitioning to Meta.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Adil.
Yeah,
So
your mic is
I
like,
just came to listen, but
yeah, now better.
yeah, hello. Is it fine?
Yeah, now it's working much better.
Is it fine now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. So I'm here after a long break. So I came to listen in. So it was a really new and trending topic. So anything to say about it, but you know there has to be some plans and stuff like that. I'll be listening.
Sure. I'll move to John. John, we had a conversation earlier as well. Uh, I'll move to John. John, we had conversation earlier as well. So, John, what is your opinion on Facebook now transitioning to Meta?
Hey, Avi. So, yeah, I watched that video they launched about the vision of their Meta, and I was quite excited about it, but also same time concerned because they prioritized the profitability over the user data and privacy, and they are kind of being the market leaders. So it's concerning, but also like they're doing a lot of good work to push this entire the innovation in the Meta, and I think like they have made Oculus and all that stuff very consumer friendly. So they are doing a good things, but also now there's another dimension to the data they are collecting. It's not just like the usage of the user's data. It's more of even your more it's a multi-sensory experience, so more data, and they will be handling it. So I hopefully like they pivot their how they approach privacy and user data and profitability and how they prioritize it. If that they kind of focus on that, it might be healthier for them. His vision made sense in terms of they acquired other products. Now they want to combine, and then Facebook becomes like one side product of theirs. So in terms of that, in their rebranding, it makes a lot of sense. And I think Facebook, if Facebook doesn't push extended reality, I don't see many companies doing that. So in that term, it's good. But I'm not a fan of Facebook. But hopefully they change how they approach privacy and user data, and now it's only going to make them more powerful as they get more data on the multi-dimensional experience and stuff like that. So those are my thoughts.
So I have this one more question from Roland since he has much more experience of this. So Roland, what do you think this rebranding from the name Facebook to Meta, since Facebook was already has so much trouble with the privacy section and they are not very trusted organization when it comes to user data. So, do you think this rebranding gonna help us in this recreation of their image of not being a very privacy-oriented company? So, does the transition to Meta gonna help us anyways into it?
So I will answer that question in two parts, right? So when you think of metaverse, or at least the way they have envisioned metaverse, you're thinking about virtual reality, augmented reality, immersive reality. So let's start with that bit first. To understand that, what you need to understand is that to enable the delivery of such a product or service to the end customer, you need to be really innovative, because if you start introducing more steps in the delivery process, meaning goggles, glasses, and other gadgets, hardware, effectively what you're doing is limiting the potential for adoption, because each step has a cost. The question then becomes, can the customer afford that cost? The other approach could be looking at what Apple is talking about with regards to virtual reality, where they say, look, the phone, the smartphone in your pocket will be the hub for the interaction with the glasses. So it's a different type of delivery of the AR VR experience, as well as how you can get the service out there while minimizing the cost. So that's one component. My view is, for that to happen, you're still looking at 3 to 5 years out. I don't see that happening immediately. I don't see it happening next year, just to be clear. I would love to be surprised, but I don't see that happening immediately. The second part of the question is more about the privacy angle. I think they have had so much backlash, so much has been written about them, that getting out of that is not going to be just a rebrand. I think they need to really show up with meaningful actions that are delivered consistently over time. And that means that the rebrand is just going to have more eyes fixated on them to spot their mistakes. So, not a great place to be in, but rebrand doesn't help the mess they're in. And final point that we haven't discussed is, I think more governments, and I'm seeing this with a caveat being depends on what the outcomes of the Senate hearings are in the US, as well as the different things the EU is looking into about Facebook, what the outcome of those will be and what impact they will have in the medium term. Because I am expecting certain rulings that could mean that they might be forced into some sort of, change. I don't want to preempt what that change may be, but I see change on the horizon. And a rebrand doesn't change that.
That is correct, Roland. I think you answered these things in very greater perspectives. So, yeah, of course, whenever we listen to Mark Zuckerberg and whenever we see these Facebook Connect events, there is one common thing that he never talks the word privacy anywhere in the conversation. Uh, so there are a lot of companies, especially Apple, which pivots the entire chain of their products. It revolves somewhere around privacy, and they focus on keeping the data on the device only and talking about the different encryption levels to prevent your data from being hacked. But Facebook never does that. So that was really something weird. And of course, they are completely an ad business company, so the revenue mostly comes from ad when we talk about Facebook. So of course, they rely on the data which they use.
Yeah, Avi, one final point I'll make. So, normally when you listen to the CEO of any company in the world that is announcing a rebrand or some sort of change that supposedly is positive, you expect them to be transmitting that with energy, with vigor, with excitement, with happiness. And if you watched the video of him announcing the rebrand yesterday, gosh, I found that difficult to see. which kind of makes me wonder whether he himself is bought into it or whether there's someone in the background pulling the strings. I don't know, but interesting question.
He always looks like
Yeah,
a
and
robo kind of figure to me. He is always like that. So yeah, John, you were saying something.
yeah, and just adding to that, and the fact that he said, okay, you can use all of these products without using Facebook login. It's like, he knew how nasty it is, and it's like, you don't have to use it if you don't want to.
I want to
But
ask a
it's always
question to
like
Rahul.
the
Can I?
go ahead.
Thank you, Rahul. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
When we
Rahul,
come with the
you
privacy
got
and
muted.
security commitments,
Jitendra, yes,
uh,
can listen to you.
yeah, yeah. When we come with the privacy and security commitments, Mark has pledged to incorporate governance and responsibilities for the privacy and data and security into the metaverse project. When you come with the privacy and security, needs to build into the metaverse from the day one. So the same goes for open standard for uh, intro predictability as well as a new technical task such as community encryption and support for NFT projects. We also need a new form of governance. In future, we will build an ecosystem to that more people can have an interest and benefits, not only in a consumer way but also as a creator need to have. So my question here is, and the real concern for consumer is how much these type of technologies are used to collect the data about the user.
Yeah, so his question and concern is that how much with these type of technology, when we are talking about virtual reality and augmented reality, which comes with a lot of external cameras, how much or what kind of data could be collected? I think from the technical point of view, the major data is also going to be health related data, which was not possible with just a phone. Now it could be possible to, since we know the Facebook is also experimenting with user expression and emotions. We could also now gonna have some sort of emotional data which could be captured. And I don't know that Facebook how they're gonna keep track of the privacy there, but the emotional data, your facial expression to some sort of content could be captured. Your entire height could be captured using a virtual reality headset. Your dimensions, how far you can stretch your arms with that, your physicality. So the more physical data about you, and of course, it's coming with a lot of external cameras. So it will be scanning what kind of products you like, what kind of color understanding you have, likelihood of things you have in your house. So these all sort of data could be gathered around now, and we have the algorithms to process all these sort of things from the headset itself. So it is much more scarier than, since we don't even trust our phones, and so many kind of data is leaking through our phones. An exact replica of ourself is being throughout on the internet, streaming throughout. So with these headsets, it's going to be much more deeper data about our own replica.
I
Avi,
agree. I agree. I agree, Avi. And this is we know all what Facebook had did in a previous, shared the data for
Yeah,
not
Jitendra, your
in
voice
a
is
proper
like
way.
really low. I'm really struggling to listen to it. Rahul, you were saying something?
Yeah.
Much
Sorry.
better, Jitendra. Yeah, please.
Okay. So we know what Facebook did previously, how they, shared the data, and it's now really going to be that much security where they are collecting the very personal data from and which is so sensitive. Does it going to really secure?
Yeah, I think I didn't get the questions very good. I don't think I got the correct understanding of the question. Rahul, did you?
see, is about when you talk about data security, right? Even if this company is sold this data to or subcontracted it out to somebody else, and there are always data sets being built behind the scenes, right? On the dark web, you know that people are able to capture data from various sources and then aggregate them into some sort of by transforming them into data points that they have to either clean it up or they use as is. There's no escape from this. And if a company is capturing data, your credit cards, your personal your details, I don't think there's a good way coming out of it in the future anyway. Whatever data we've already lost. And one of the things that I would like to think about, even in Clubhouse, right? Every conversation is being recorded in a way, and they say that during the end, after the room ends, it's dispersed. But if you run a transformation function in such a manner that you extract the right metadata, then you can store that metadata and no one can call you out on it legally, right? You can still say that we are not storing any data, but we just captured something for understanding how to make the system better. So the correct move forward, I would say, is that people devote computational power to these networks, like the way Bitcoin does, and then you don't have to sell your personal data to them. Right now they want to capture all this data in different dimensions so they can target products at you. But if you take control and say I am not in for this, I opt out of that network, then automatically you can move towards those networks where you choose the transaction that you require.
So, Rahul, you have expressed something excellent. Why doesn't why don't entrepreneurs in India build something like that? I'm sure there are many people in the world who value their own data, who want to be empowered as to whether they give consent or not with their data, that would be willing to adopt such a solution.
So there's a YouTube channel called Smarter Every Day, and I think Justin is the host of that. They are also raising fund recently for a company called For Privacy. So they are raising some funds. They raised a good amount of funds for that as well. They are also working on this data safe privacy oriented subject, where the idea was to have a access oriented sharing. If you revoke the access to some sort of content, the other end could not be able to access it anymore. So you should be able to have track of for how much access and for how long you want to give to your content, and that should be, of course, to two-factor authentication, and of course it should be protected by a key encryption which end to end. So of course there are a lot of startups working toward this, but now we have to come up with some sort of API to uh, have this sort of technology implemented into all other existing services. And I don't think Facebook is going to go especially for this unless everybody is transitioned to it already or mostly.
Yeah, and Apple 14, they're kind of taking a step at it and showing that in action. Recently, my iOS 14, if there's an app and it uses my location, it tells me how many times my location was used. So there was this Metro Mile, that's an insurance app, and I don't even use it. And my iOS 14 update news showed me it used my location like 68, 69 times or something. So I had to go delete it. And all this visibility and privacy is making companies like Facebook very difficult to sustain their ad kind of a model and have targeted things. So it's a question of prioritizing profitability of versus the user trust they are building. So it's a tough battle between the business and the consumer side. So, but iOS 14 is taking a step at it. So I think like I would love to learn how they're gonna approach that solve problem like that.
Also, there is one more side of this data capturing. So, whenever I think as an entrepreneur, we all have run ads directly or indirectly in our businesses. So, we already care about data and connecting to the right kind of person, and how the marketing is so much better if I compare it to 10 years back, because now we can precisely reach to somebody, and that is happening because of this data capture and data association to some sort of segmentation. So now you can reach to right kind of a potential customer of yours, whether it's educational sector, whether it's a healthcare sector, whether it's some sort of health supplements or any of these sectors. A better segmentation of users for your product. Of course, all sort of products are there, and all sort of users could be reached. But in for businesses, this sort of data, not privacy, is really important as well. So, what is your opinion on this? I'm asking to everyone, whoever want to.
Answer for it, but this is a question I asked myself. If you see from the business side, what they do might make sense. But I think like if somebody could figure out a model where people can monetize on the data and have much control, or have give them the ability to critically think how it's used, and it's up to the users how they connect. So it's a tough battle between the users' goals and the business goals. So I don't have an answer yet, but that is something I ask myself all the time.
Sandeep ji, do you want to say something about the data being equally important to businesses as well? Of course, Facebook is the way, or Facebook is the direct stealer of data, but this data requirement is of every business. Whoever I talk to in the industry, they depend on this data stole by Facebook in certain ways. I guess Sandeep ji is not here. So yeah, this is a great conversation going on. Whoever wants to come up on the stage and want to talk more about Facebook's transition into Meta, they are mostly welcome. And if anybody want to put more points on this, they are completely welcome. One thing I want to talk more is, of course, the future of virtual reality and augmented reality, since I'm somebody who is deeply connected and deeply resonate with that industry. I can see a really good future of that industry, of course, because of the marketing step which Facebook took. Now more and more people are going to talk about these industries more, since we are having this conversation about metaverses. So, what is your opinion on this marketing paradigm shift, Rahul? And how do you see the other businesses than Facebook gonna have any advantage in terms of recognition or marketing ease, or anything you see? Am I audible, guys? Yeah, there is one
Yeah, I
raised
can hear you.
hand raise. Yeah, yeah. Hi, Palash.
Yeah, hi Avi. How are you?
I'm doing really well, man. We are having a discussion about Facebook's transition into a company called Meta. They are transitioning completely into metaverses. So, what is your opinion about metaverses
Yeah,
and this transition?
yeah. No, see, basically what happened, I'll give a little bit context, like why I came to few conclusions.
Yeah, please.
So I was working for some real estate company, like they were trying to shift to, you can say, adopt crypto and see what they can benefit from. So while researching, I came across this about digital lands and virtual lands, but they were in their 40s, 50s, so that completely went above their head. But since then, I was a pro gamer for a long time, so it was pretty obvious for me that one day it is going to be pretty natural, or you can say obvious. But yeah, everyone in metaverse community that I have been to or talked to is had the same view, like. No one company can do it alone, and it will take a lot of efforts from everyone, like literally everyone. And even in yesterday also, even Mark suggested the same and said the same in his keynote, and I agree. But one of the things that I thought was, uh, he might not be successful, because essentially what he was suggesting was, one day all of us will have a camera or mapping system in our homes, in our rooms. So I don't think so people will trust him or the company with that thing. So that was one thing that I could point out. Rest all, a lot of things I can say that only time will
tell. But what do you think? Like, if we gets rid of that part, or is there somewhere around you see like Facebook can tackle that thing, or any other privacy issues that it already has a bad name for?
Yeah, Palash. So you raised a very good point, which was completely slipped from my head. So they also showed a very realistic avatar. Actually, the how they avatar are captured is a technology called volumetric capturing, and the idea is to put hundreds of cameras around in a circular manner and put a subject in between, and they shot at the same time from all direction, and that's how we triangulate the center subject. And this kind of technology is, of course, really realistic and gives you a very wonderful results if you blend some sort of adversarial neural networks on top of it. It gives you a very realistic and very lifelike avatars. But these sort of technologies, packing it in a headset or combining it with some sort of captioning technology which is available to everyone, it's kind of a technology which is not available to a lot of businesses as well. In India, we don't have a single volumetric capture unit. We were talking about this with a very good friend of mine who's also have a unit and want to build it in India as well. So it is really expensive, and in no way that in next 5 to 7 years Facebook gonna build this kind of thing as a commercial, or as a, let's say, it's as a consumer a product. So it's far away still. Facebook talk about this in their conversations of what they're gonna what the metaverse in future is gonna be like. So it's nowhere close. We don't even have the processing capabilities on top of headsets right now to process such crazy models, because even one model of from those avatars looks like 25 to 30 GB of data. So yeah, I totally agree to you, Palash, in several sense. But I also agree to the point that you said. Okay, to older people and to the people who are like deep into businesses and leadership positions, since they have good amount of age and experience, they seems very spectacle about that how it's gonna be, how it's gonna work. Like, you are not in the same room, how you gonna make deals, how you gonna make transactions, how you gonna interact to people. But the gamers who are into gaming, the young age generation who are playing games in multiplayer mode all the time, they know it happens, and they have friends who are playing with them, and then they have really good friendship with people. They have groups which connects only on these sort of gaming portals and games, whether we talk about Free Fire, whether we talk about PUBG, so Fortnite. So these people have no doubts about the technology and the potential of the technology of being connected into a virtual environment together. So I totally agree to your point there. Now I'll come to Abhilash as well. Abhilash is here with us. So Abhilash, what are your perspectives on the metaverse shift?
Hey guys, sorry, I got cut off. Can you repeat?
Yeah, Abhilash ji, did you got my questions, or I need to repeat?
I got your question. I
Yeah.
sorry, I couldn't follow Mark Zuckerberg's keynote, but I do feel like I won't make like an elaborate address, but just a quick point. I feel it reflects their vision, and secondly, it's a strategy to kind of de-risk the concerns that they were facing with the Facebook brand name itself, and that was kind of flowing into WhatsApp and Instagram. So now, if they have a new variable to kind of de-risk their business and save the non-Facebook entities from some of the bad branding that kind of Facebook uh, like gets into. That's my quick thoughts on the subject.
Yeah, that is completely agreeable, Abhilash. Thanks for sharing. Jeet ji is here with us. Jeet has a good amount of knowledge of 3D and good amount. He's also a pro. I'm
Hello.
sorry, I was on mute. So Abhilash ji, thanks for sharing this. Jeet ji is with us here. Jeet has a good, really good understanding of 3D. He is also a professor of electronic arts and graphic design. So I'll bring Jeet ji. and would love to listen to his opinions on metaverse transition by Facebook.
Yeah, I'm kind of skeptical. One of the reason is that I didn't see what he had talked about, but what I'm getting the feeling that they created a simulation of what metaverse can be. And like you said, that your volumetric cameras and other things do not exist in most places. It's a long way to go because 90% of the people don't own Oculus or headset, cannot even afford Oculus and headset. Facebook is Facebook, but Facebook needs a phone and a computer, and that is a different thing. When you go into a metaverse, your computer does, you can do a 3D kind of a pull and push with your computer or your laptop, but that is not 3D in the true sense of a metaverse. So unless you're just talking about augmented reality, which is different from virtual reality, so we have to understand the difference. And 80% or 60% of the people don't understand the difference, and a lot of education has to be done. And what I feel very strongly is that Facebook is trying to dominate the word meta, and so that anybody who uses metaverse or with the platform, they will be the one controlling it. So it's kind of a world domination that they're into. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a very strategic planning that they've done, and they've spent a lot of money on the brand name, but it is very hard for them to erase the bad reputation that Facebook has. And Facebook has created such a bad reputation in terms of data mining, data selling, and privacy. So no matter how much they try hard, and if they're saying that there should be a camera in every house, and they try to sell their camera option. I don't know what the portal is called, but you can have a camera and you can communicate with other people. But the main thing is the same problem is Google and Echo, and what you have, the Amazon, Amazon Echo and Google. What do you call it? I'm forgetting the names. The audio thing, that your privacy is being invaded, and with the camera it's worse. So yes, you have all the bells and whistles and glamour and other things, but the metaverse is not the same as Facebook. Facebook has become popular because it was a portal where you don't have to have a lot of investment, unless smart phone and not smartphone, smart goggles, and even the Facebook what came up with the smart eyeglass was a joke. Come on, you have two cameras, and there are better smart glasses out there that people are coming up with. So unless there's an integration with the phone, with the smartwatch and smart glasses, augmented reality will not be as they predict, and that has to be practical, feasible, cost productive in both the developing country as well as developed country. Because if you really look at it, the majority of their customer in Facebook is outside US and Europe, but they don't have headsets. There are a lot of countries that even in India, how many people really have a Oculus and can afford an Oculus or something similar to that? So overall, it is a good startup for Facebook, but I don't know how long it will take. Like what you said before, what some other people have said, they can spend a lot of money and they can get into it, but the integration with the public and integration with the audience is a long process to come. They're more into the profit side. That is my fear, because what they did with Facebook was more about profit than anything else. And that philosophy, that strategy is the most dangerous strategy, because when you get into metaverse, when I'm trying to teach metaverse and they're trying to sell an ad in my class, This is not what I want through metaverses. So metaverse should have some ethical background, some moral background, and I think other metaverses will come up, which is more open source and more affordable. So in the long run, there'll be a competition, and Facebook will try to either buy or suppress other competition because they want to dominate this area. But there'll be a lot of objection, and there'll be a lot of, there should be some policies. We are looking into what we were thinking of in another room about constitution, metaverse consortium, and metaverse ethics and moral and application, how it is to be controlled, or some kind of consortium that will say, okay, this is how metaverse should work, this is the rules and regulations. So that will happen in different countries because Facebook and Google have faced problem in other countries, that to pay fines, that to have legal things, and Facebook can afford it, but there are a lot of issues still needs to be resolved, and to Facebook to change the name into Meta, and to what are their future goals. Thank you for the time. Hope that makes sense.
That's really some great insights, Jeet ji. Uh, so I just received a message on my WhatsApp community channel that Facebook is having a live right now, and the cool thing about this live, or the new thing, which for me is it's at least new, is that Facebook is having this live in the audio format similar to Clubhouse, but they are having it on Facebook. So Facebook has now a audio support platform too, in live format, which is closer to Facebook. So I didn't know about that. So Mark Zuckerberg is live there now. So that is change. So that you also sir talked about a lot of things there. You also talked about that how the headsets are not really affordable, but the Quest, which is the most popular headsets, comes only $400 less than a gaming laptop cost, or closer to a laptop cost, which is giving more and more access. And a lot of, even in US, I know a few people even gifting each other on the Christmas these quests. So it's $400, is it's literally less than the cost of phones there, mostly. So let's also talk about this metaverse, and there are Chirag is here to talk about this. Facebook is now transitioned to Meta. Chirag, what is your opinion on this?
I don't know much about it. As I had read about it, it is regarding virtual reality, regarding projects and developing it.
Yeah, Chirag, your audio is a little low. Can you adjust your mic and talk about it?
Yeah, sure. I am audible properly now.
N- no,
Hello.
it's still on the lower end. Chirag, can you try rejoining?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Avi, to answer your back, yes, 300, $400 is okay in US, but do most population in India can afford 300, $400? Plus connectivity is there, so it needs to come down further. If it is like $100 in other countries, it is applicable. But right now, even when I'm teaching, to get $400 for per Oculus is not easy for a lot of schools and a lot of families too. So the thing is that if you're upper middle class, you're middle class in US, you can afford it. But if you're in lower middle class in terms of finances and all, you cannot afford it. So if you look at the whole population all over the world, most of the people in developing countries cannot afford it. So I'm not talking about HTC Vive. I'm not talking about expensive laptop. I use Oculus. I teach with Oculus. I know that you can get it between $399 and $400, but it is still expensive for general population. So if you compare the billion of Facebook people and members, they're not all rich people. So you have to really understand that the finances of a headset. And the other thing is that you have to understand the headset is not very comfortable. After half an hour, you don't feel like being inside that. So headsets is not a long, you can't wear it all day long and then be in the metaverse and try to escape from reality. And as Ronald had said somewhere else, that we are trying to escape from reality, but unless the headset is like a normal glasses, it won't be used. And I think Innovisia and other companies are coming up with a normal headset with contact lenses and all, but those won't be cheap as far as I can see. It will be within $300 or $200, but the general population that are involved in WhatsApp and Facebook are not going to be in that metaverse. Only the rich people and middle class people and people who can afford. Kids in India might ask their parents to buy them the headsets, but cheaper headset needs to come through. And I think India is working on it, and other countries are working on better headsets. But it will take another 2-3 years.
I got your perspective, sir. Totally agree to you now. Uh, let's move to Chirag. Chirag, are you back now?
Yes, I am audible now
Yeah,
properly.
much better than before. Yep.
Okay, so my views on this metaverse is like it will create many creators. Sorry. Hello, I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible, Chirag.
Hello. Okay, okay. So I am thinking like it will create many job opportunities for people who, and it will change e-commerce. Uh, like I had also read about Geo. They are trying to make like shopping, 3D shopping or VR shopping. So it will change many things in coming down 3 to 4 years.
I agree to you in several ways, Chirag. Yes, it is correct. It is going to generate several direct and indirect jobs, and not just job. Maybe a lot of transition, especially in the people who are into design segment. We're gonna see a lot of sort of transition from 2D designers to 3D and 3D artists and VR artists. So that is a correct perspective. I totally agree to it. Niyata is here. So Niyanta, I would like to listen to your perspectives on metaverse and what you think about it and Facebook's transition into a company called Meta.
Okay, thank you, Avi. Actually, I don't have much opinion about it like everyone else, but what I am seeing that this will be kind of revolution in the our daily usage of these apps and these websites. This is going to be revolutionary. So yeah, I just think that.
Yeah, it's going to change a lot of ways how we interact with the internet. That's why we call it Web 3.0, because the entire interaction to web and to each other gonna transform. The Web 2.0 is basically how we transition from a traditional way of computers and having connecting to internet platforms through a computing device. Of course, mobiles are computing device, but now we have apps and everything which connects in better ways and in more personalized ways. But now with the 3.0 technology, we are looking towards the blockchain, the decentralized networks, and these metaverses. So that is something really amazing. And of course, who can forget IoTs? Uh, so let's talk about this to, I guess, yeah, he was here, but now he is not. Uh, Harsh, do you want to add something on to it?
Okay, so the Web 3.0, right? The new internet
Yep,
world,
of
right?
course. What do you think about Web 3.0?
Okay. Yeah, it would definitely like bring into like in scenarios, right? Like there will be cases where people might what do you say? Like they might benefit from it, but to it, right? Because it is in it is in kind of in the virtual world basically. Like yeah.
Yeah, of course. I think it's for I think there is no option left for people to choose whether they want to switch or not. Now you cannot talk about now people. There are some people who don't want to switch to applications from traditional website network. So they have to do it if they have to get a work done. That is a good way. So when these bigger systems are created, there is less and less options left for people to choose whether to use it or not. You cannot right now choose to have a privacy because these systems are already in place, which are collecting data and personalized data about you all the time to to serve you better ads. So I think there is we are we have less and less choices left to make.
Can I say something?
Of course, GG.
So the thing is, metaverse is nothing new. Metaverse started, the word started long time back. Uh, uh, what do you call Mozilla Hub? Metaverse was already existing long time back. There are many portals that are metaverse in a different fashion. Do it, like you can educate. So what is nothing doing? The fancy part of Facebook is that there are a lot of people. And the revolution. The only thing is that the Wi-Fi system is to get better computer chips together, and what do you call the 3D aspect of it has been in process for last 10-15 years. So AI is, I saw AI in 1999 or 1998. So the application of AI with what do you call creation, game, and metaverse is getting better and better and better. So, like I said, these are not revolutionary thing that just started by Facebook. Application of AI has been there for a very, very long time. 3D printing was there for a long time. It started in 60s. Metaverse has been there for a very long time. It is getting better and the social application. But my fear is the data and data mining and selling your private information to for profit to the companies. So that is where the very problematic things will come in, because the Facebook or Meta is going to take your data, sell it to the companies, and profit from it. And unless they change their whole philosophy, which they won't, because they're very profit oriented, things are going to remain the same. But 3.0, yes, you're right that you cannot, you have no option. But I don't know how much the development of 3.0 web is really in progress. If anybody can jump into that, and in existence, is it actually in work? So I'm kind of a little confused about 3.0. It's like GitHub. Where is it going? So, Avi, can you give us some understanding of where 3.0 is?
I'm sorry, I don't really have a very good understanding of Web 3.0, but I guess Rahul and Roland both have a good idea of that. So Rahul, do you wanna go about it?
I can give you a short summary. It's basically in Web 2.0 for the innovation that we got for free, right? Whether that be social networks or various products and services that we used, we were the because it was free for us and they had done tremendous amount of investment. They had to extract things out of us and then make money out of it in some way. And for that, they sold a lot of things which without our consent because we clicked on those terms and conditions, right? But in the Web 3.0 world, now the whole focus is shifting towards the user's interests and values. And there will be multiple options to choose from. Whichever system that upholds your values, you can support that. For example, even in the blockchain world, there are people who support Bitcoin and there are people who do not support Ethereum. And there are also the other way around, that they stand with Ethereum and they don't support Bitcoin, for example. You can say that each of these networks is aimed at making uh, the user's life better. and the shareholders are also apart from the same community itself. There's no one sitting behind the scenes and calling the shots, and there's also open governance models attached to this. So I think that in Web 3.0, when people start making money and they feel the incentives are better for them, they will automatically depart from Web 2.0 related stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So are
think.
you saying that decentralization?
Yeah, GG, please go ahead.
So uh, you're talking about cryptocurrency, blockchain, and what do you call Ethereum? Yes, I understand that. And then can you just switch over to 3.0, or is it something that you have to go from 2.0 to 3.0?
I would say that there's no switchover, right? All of these are 3.0, and the applications that will be coming on and being built on top of this, like here, there are many people like John here. We discussed about what if we could create a manufacturing pipeline on top of crypto. That means it's funded by a decentralized automatic organization, automated organization, and you're partnering up with manufacturing pipelines in a country like China, for example. So what would happen without any branding, without any marketing, if you could directly attract customers who would want to be interested in a product like, say, a VR headset, which works according to their specification. And so you've completely left out the model of having a full-fledged company operate in this regard, and it's all controlled by the DAO. And the people who are taking part in the DAO also govern the decisions made in there, and they also receive the benefits of the products that they help build. So it's something that is going to be built on top of 3.0. That's what we can see.
So where does IoT come in? How is IoT getting involved with 3.0 and blockchain and the metaverse?
I don't have a good answer for that at the moment about IoT.
Okay, because I'm very keen on it.
I had few observations, you can say. So basically, like to look at this metaverse from totally Web3 point, one way that I have seen and observed is like take it like today, even Linux and Debian and I guess Red Hat is, you can say, a version of open source that is being charged also for, because they are actually providing services. So today we are interesting Facebook to look after each and every aspect, the hardware, software, and then whole ecosystem. But the view that most of the Web3 people have is mostly every service will be decentralized and owned by some community, and the DAO that was Rahul mentioning. So mostly the ultimate metaverse will have a lot of small protocols and companies, you can say, and all of them coming together and uh, uniting to make that metaverse economy, the assets and everything. That might be the most feasible or ideal way that everyone is trying to pursue. And that's where that was the major view that each one of my even colleagues had. And Facebook just goes in opposite of that. They say that they want inclusivity, they want to bring everyone, but we all know what they don't think anything about profits most of the times. So, and also on the hardware or IoT part that you were saying, mostly there's one this project named Helium, and they what they are suggesting is like they'll use a different band than the existing 4G or 5G networks, and they'll the nodes or the network will be set up by each of the users. Like today you can mine crypto from your home, so one day you can just put a machine and you will be a part of a network. And if you are a node or a supplier of that network, you will be benefited, and that will be the actual connection. Uh, like companies set up their own personal internets. In that way they are figuring it out, like they have open sourced the model and they tie up with the manufacturers. So the manufacturers will just issue the same hardware, and anyone can buy it and become a part of the network, and they are paid for the same.
So, do you think Elon Musk, Starlink will have a role? Because I'm very keen on that. That if the Starlink, that the satellite they've put up, maybe this whole thing will change totally because you don't have to depend on the router set up on buildings and all. Maybe Starlink will have its own router within the satellite itself. Anybody has any clue where the integration of metaverse, IoT, and Web3, all these things can come together?
I'm not aware about the Starlink, but NVIDIA is working on this NVIDIA Omniverse where they are creating this real-time simulation and collaboration platform like 3D production pipeline. So I think like all this digital manufacturing could happen virtually and the production could happen in the factory. So I think like that is something NVIDIA is like working on. So I would, would look into more into that to understand those digital manufacturing and IoT and things like that.
Yeah, I've seen Omniverse, but Omniverse really needs. When I downloaded Omniverse, it was a lot of gigabyte, and you really need a hard laptop, like a good laptop, for Omniverse to play. So I don't understand why they're investing and the compatibility for normal laptop. I don't know whether Omniverse works on a regular laptop because when I downloaded Omniverse, because I'm into metaverse, I was wanting to see more of what other people are doing. Omniverse has a good resolution and everything, but the requirements are kind of very expensive for normal people.
Yeah, and that's the main concern right now, and all this industry leaders are trying to solve that accessibility issue. I think they're all are working in the with the thought in mind. It's gonna happen like probably next 5 or 10 years for that adoption and technology to be ready to that be so accessible for people. And even like Oculus, it operates under loss, and bringing that cost down to $300 is also a big deal. And I don't know how other companies would able to even compete with that pricing. But I think like they're hoping that they will educate the market, bring the cost down, and then when the adoption increase, and then they'll work on a different revenue strategy and stuff like that.
Thank you, John and Rahul and Palash. Keen on the future, but I also feel that the success of any kind of hardware software has to be financially compatible with the normal people. And I'm very hopeful that a lot of new devices are coming out from India, which can be compatible and can be cheaper, because India is one country that can really resolve this issue. And if they're good, what do you call, eyeglasses and headset that are comfortable, I think there's a good possibilities that it will be a revolution. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jit.
Thanks everyone for sharing these wonderful opinion. I guess Rahul is with us. Rahul, do you want to add something on the Facebook transitioning to Meta? Yeah, Rahul. I guess Rahul is not able to hear us. So, if anybody wants to add some more points to it, they are welcome. They can come up on speaker panel and talk. If not, we can also end the session. We are running it for quite a while. So, yeah, I'm waiting for a few minutes. If somebody wants to add points, they are most welcome.
One thing about costing that came to my mind also, like as even JG mentioned, that even $300, $400 is hard to sell to the masses, because today Geo launched this phone that was under $100, and people still aren't happy or satisfied like the things that they are getting in that. So uh, I guess maybe 28 to 2012 or 14 something, like smartphones and everything was very expensive. Only certain people bought that, and when the Chinese came, they just blew it out of proportion, producing in mass, and then it became eligible to upcoming economies like India, you can say. So maybe not immediately, but I guess someday the same thing might happen to VR headsets also. They'll just produce insane amounts and control everything. And as we can all see that the Chinese phones are notorious for all the ads and everything. So they'll just push a lot of it into the headset. Might also be the OS in the headset maybe.
Yeah, I
So
agree to
can't say, but
what Palash
it's
said.
possible, I guess.
Just I want to add one more point. Really, the idea is that Apple raised its MacBook's price to $3,000, and nobody bats an eye. And now there's a $300 headset from Facebook, and everybody is going crazy. That it's expensive. So uh, there is also one thing to look at. I'm just adding it as a joke, but yeah.
Yeah, I think as a fancy device and people who can afford it, it is good. But like there are, I don't know about like for something like a Facebook or social media, you need a smartphone that can be affordable. And the thing is that yes, even $300 is very difficult. But Chinese have come up with a lot of devices. There are a lot of other devices, but again, one of the factor that is that like Steam or Oculus controls the software side and the integration side. So I think the integration side will be the difficult part. Can you come up with a metaverse that is, or so that is another area which.
I lost you somewhere in between, but yeah, it was recovered.
Yeah, the thing is that controlling how even if you come with a new headset, they control what do you call HTC controls and Oculus controls the headsets and what software can be sold. They have their own store, so it is the same as Apple has its own store, and Google has their own store. So they try to control the software side, and without the software application, you cannot really use the headset. So a lot of things still have to be resolved, and maybe Web 3.0 will have a process or a store where you can go through them.
Yeah. I definitely
Yeah,
see
in terms of
I definitely see virtual reality and augmented reality as upcoming future. There's no doubt about these perspectives, but the more I'm interested in to look more OS updates at how they're gonna handle switching to multiple let's say multiple application without leaving the headset, or how they're gonna seamlessly integrate one single avatar into all the applications. So these are my concerns, and these are my interest to what the Facebook gonna come up, and they are doing a really good job when it comes to the horizon what they are building. They are about to go public with Horizon as well. So Horizon is going to be open for everybody to join in and have all kind of interaction on that platform. And yeah, say they also announced Horizon Home and Horizon Work. These are and Horizon itself. So these are three different things, and everything is of course where developed or around people, as Ronald also said. So it also keeps in mind that how people gonna interact to these. So these are some seriously interesting subjects where I see which draws a lot of my attention there.
But I think I have to add something to this. So if I'm allowed to,
Yes, of course.
I think, yeah, okay, great. So I think the first thing, we getting on the topic is that first is that people need to get educated about it, that why Facebook changed its name to Meta, what is the next step, why it is, because most of the people are just clueless about it, right? Because they don't know what is happening in the other side of the world, NFTs, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, and what not at the same time, right? So I think the first is the when you have to educate people, so you have to do a good marketing to teach people, so they come on the platform, know what it is, learn it and then able to do it, right? Because in 2008 my father and mom were not on Facebook, but now they are on Facebook, and my father and mom, they are also on Instagram. Why? Because it has been marketed so well that they have made themselves understand that yes, they can also use it. So I think the ease of use needs to be there at the very first base level in order to move it to other sections. And the sub last we got a very bright point that Apple increases $3,000 and Facebook got a $300 headset which people not buy, is because when you give something for free, okay, and then you start charging cost for it, people might move on for you. But have you seen Apple giving something free for to anyone for anything? No. So when you see a $1,000 device discounted at $800, you will buy it blindly, straight blind. Why? Because you have not seen it on discount. Same goes with Salesforce, right? If Salesforce is not for free, but if you, it just puts, it just goes on a sale for $200 for a month or XYZ price, right? And people will go nuts on it and they will buy it. Why? Because they have not seen in the entire career something discounted at that price, so they will buy it, right? Wherein Facebook was free for everything you have to do, right? It was free for your business. You can run ads and pay some sort of amount and you can reach to particular set of people. So it was a cost effective way people could do things. But now when you're selling a $3,000 headset, it's a more of, people are thinking like, why should I buy that when I'm still using Facebook for free, so the mindset is still on the free part. And most of the Indians, we can see a dramatic change when Geo came in 2016. Why? It was low cost, right? And it got a very valued boom in the country. So every competitor had to cope up with that. But if you see Tata Nano at the same part, they said it's the world's cheapest car. So the marketing went wrong. They called it the cheapest and not the affordable car. So the marketing went wrong and the car production stopped for that reason. Even Ratan Tata call it cheap, which put a very bad vibe into people's head. So people who could afford any car above 5 lakhs did not buy Nano. Why? Because they thought it's a cheap status, right? Because they used the cheap word. If they would have used the word affordable, any replacement word for that, Nano would have been a success. So it's all about what we feed the consumer first, and then we get the output from that. That's all from my side, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Manthan. These are
I
some
think that's a very
amazing
good point.
perspectives. Yeah. So what
I think
Manthan?
you have made a very good point. The education part is very, very important, and the cost. And I think you have to be careful when they say $3,000 and they sell it for 1,000. It's a sales gimmick, which they manufacture it for $500, then they sell it for $3,000. So that sales gimmick is always there. And yes, sorry, Avi, please go ahead.
So I think Manthan mentioned some really new perspectives, and one is also about that how we need to educate more and more people who never heard the term of virtual reality or who have no idea about what NFTs are or the blockchain is. So I also see this particular event which happened yesterday more as a this education perspective, because now more and more people are giving their attention towards what is meta, what is metaverse, and I believe that was the whole intention of what happened yesterday. So now when Facebook has transitioned into Meta, now more and more people are focused on what Facebook is building about future and how these platforms gonna look like. So I think it is a really cool move to transition, and I think it is going to work.
Yeah, anything and every time a new innovation comes, I think the education is the difficult, and it's very expensive too, and only like bigger company has that bandwidth to take that load on them. Another thing I wanted to add was uh, I mean, so Facebook also make it much easier with Oculus Quest and Unity development. I know there are very other options, but the amount of research that goes behind even creating any kind of an interaction is a lot, and they've made this interaction model more accessible and effort, not effort. What do you say? uh, easier to work and create your own stuff. And when I was trying to learn, I'm not a developer. I'm a designer. But when I was trying to learn Unity, and then when I tried with other headset, the SDK integration was very difficult compared to the Quest. Strategic, thing over there to make people use their platforms to develop it. But I think like somebody mentioned about the app store and all this stuff. So they are creating an ecosystem here that sometimes leave us like no choice than products and things like that. So it's almost like a monopoly, but hopefully more player comes and then people have choices to select what is best works for them.
I agree with you, John, and that is a thing when you develop something on a new company comes up, that is another control issue that is there, both with Apple, Google, and Facebook.
That is correct. And I also see Facebook more of uh, a company which is always accused for things, but there is always an alternate perspective about what they're doing. Whatever they're doing with the data and the privacy concerns, of course, they are genuine, but that also helps a lot of businesses. That also helps transition to startups. If we talk about these data is actually being used by most of the companies to market their product to correct target segment. Uh, so I don't see Facebook as a bigger accuse, but definitely I have concerns about Facebook leading this very chain of and with their reputation of not being fair with to the data. So of course the concerns are genuine, but there is always two sides of things or more.
Very true, very true. And but when it comes to your own privacy and your social security and your bank account is hacked because of Facebook, then you have to be careful.
Of course, of course.
Also like this, a lot of challenges that we can see now, that if it's easy to develop on Facebook's platform, then by default a lot of audience will shift there. But mostly you can say at a few years ago it was like Web3 projects were catching up on Web2 things and trying to build stuff in a decentralized way. But as per my observation, recently it's happening. The innovation on Web 2 and Web 3 is almost in the same pace. Like there's very slight gap, and both are trying to solve the same problems. But it will again come to choice, and mostly it will be in this way that today some people are very few, but they are going towards privacy focused software and hardware as well, and they are ready to pay the price for that also. But those who can't afford have no other option. So mostly I feel in long run we'll have two kinds of consumers only, that they are who are paying higher price for privacy, and the other who just want the experience for cheap. So I guess that kind of bifurcation we can see in long run.
I think I have a different perception for this. So according to me, our data is already sold out. You know, the next question appears is who spams us the most. So people not gonna pay for privacy, but people's going to pay for less spamming, right? So they will still pay for less spamming their accounts, their phones or XYZ things, because all of our data is already leaked. What movement we making is already leaked. It's already there with Facebook and most of the apps, right? We understanding the the importance of privacy, importance of all these things, but these company had a brighter vision since very start, right? So we are sold already. It is just that how you can prevent that. Now you are sold already. Now you have to stop the like it is like a disease. It is spread. Your data is being spreading from company to company, so you have to just put a cap on it and just make sure that the company do not spam you now. That's all. So there will be two types: the people who are getting spammed the most and people who are not getting spammed because they're paying a higher price to keep their data to a limited level. That's all.
That is a very cool.
I'm not talking about the people.
Sorry, Gigi, go
I'm
ahead.
talking about the next generation. Yeah, I'm talking about the next three generation. I'm not talking about the ones who have already been hacked and the data that has been sold. The next three generation will have to be very careful because the data sold is okay. Like when you join Facebook or WhatsApp, your information is already being hacked and sold by Facebook. But what about the future? Can you keep doing? Because even if you have 1 billion, there are 2 or 3 billion more who have not even joined Facebook. So there are a lot of people who are incoming and will be incoming. So yes, yeah, that is a business here. But I think in the long run, there will be a non-business internet and there'll be a non-business metaverse. There'll be a non-business because people will get tired of this nonsense.
Adding to Gigi's view, even I feel like there are a lot of people in mostly emerging economies like India and Africa, like they haven't been to Web 2 itself, and it's highly possible the first interaction they might have with proper tech might be in Web 3, totally decentralized. They are already paying for privacy. So you can say like at this moment it's not possible for next 1 decade at least, but surely in future it is possible as per I see. And very rough level example that I would like to share is like you might have also observed like these days babies are becoming super hyperactive and hyper reactive to things. They are constantly surrounded by phones, laptops, and everything. But one of my sisters has managed to keep his 1.5-year-old son away from all screens, literally no phone, no TV at all, and he is extremely calm as compared to all other my nephews and nieces. So I can really see like if we really want to do it, there is always a choice. Even today we can make that, but it's harder today than it might be for after 10 years, I would say, because we will have that privacy focused platforms.
Yep, I agree with that. I think it's a concern. It's a very big concern, and this whole attitude towards market and profit. It is okay, if you're a startup, you're doing something, you need the money, but it doesn't help the society. It is not, what Facebook is trying to say and what it does is a big difference.
I would like to add one more thing that we talk about privacy and how there should be alternate systems which don't use the data or don't steal the data from you. But data is already mostly there. Most of the things about you which you have kept public is already in the domain of these hackers and people. So I think it's time for us to focus more on security rather than privacy, and these two are very different subjects. In security, by security I mean is basically of course people gonna spam you, but we should work more on the anti-spam technology to identify which is much more ideal for me, which is much more important for me, or rather than not. Of course, they gonna have my credit card number somehow, but I need to be more. I need to have more advanced technology to identify that the transaction is authentic and made by me or not. So we should work more secure methods of transitioning towards and within this Web 3.0. That is because we these companies are really smart. They do gonna steal your privacy. They do gonna break all those privacy concerns of yours are really real, and they do gonna breach the privacy. We need to focus more on the security aspects of our internet life. Chirag is here. Chirag, would love to listen to your perspectives on Facebook now transitioning to Meta.
Hello.
Yeah, Chirag can listen to you, but really on the lower end.
I think it is network issue on my side. So I am audible properly or not?
Low.
Okay, okay, just a minute. Is it fine now?
Much better, much better.
Okay, okay. So what was question? I was just in another room. I came back now.
Yeah, so we are here discussing about now Facebook has transitioned to a thing called Meta, and they are focusing on metaverses. So, what is your opinion about this change, and what is the future ahead of us? Because Facebook is completely a social company. How do you see a social transformation? Do you see or not? So that is basically the conversation which is we are having.
Okay, got it. As many big companies are focusing on automation, many fields, marketing, AI, robotics. So the next decade is going about many things regarding automations, and virtual reality metaverse will be play major role in that. So my perspective is that many things will be easier in future, like IoT, automations, and many things will be helpful. So these are my perspective. Like as in lockdown, we have said like work from home opportunities, and many companies shifted to work from home environment. So according to me, it will be easy to experience offline world online through VR. And
Yeah, Chirag. So you are
Arjun,
a
I want
digital.
to add something to Avi.
Okay. So first, let me
yes,
ask this to Chirag, then I'll come back to you, Minthanji. Chirag, so my concern or my question to you is going to be about how do you see, because you might have aware of yesterday's event which Zuckerberg had, and it was completely focused on metaverses. So how do you see the upcoming opportunities, especially in the field of marketing, and how you can take advantage of this metaverse in
hello.
terms of marketing, and what kind of content you could reach with people. Of course, the ways of reaching to people are also going to transform. So what are your opinions? What are the things you looking forward into metaverse pie of yours?
Uh, According to me, a creative part cannot be automated. Other things can be automated, like uh, the data collected from social media platform and interest-based targeting can be automated through data points collected. Uh, like sorry, niche like copywriting, content writing, or a creative part cannot be automated a lot. Like marketing automation will be done, according to me.
Yeah, I don't see the metaverse relate and your perspectives. So I'll move to Manthanji. Yeah, Manthanji, please add.
Thank you, Avi, and please don't call me. Thank you, Avi, and please don't call me G. Age just makes me feel very old. I know it's a respect, but it just makes me feel very old. Yeah. So moving forward, so the time you talked about those anti spam companies, right? So I'll tell you a very brutal fact right now. So imagine we have anti spam companies which are preventing, right? Our data is already there, but they're trying to prevent less spamming. Now these companies will have the world gold. I'll tell you why I'm saying call it world gold. They will have data which is fresh and not been targeted since a very long time, and they will be selling it like Truecaller. It's an anti-spam product, but it is collecting your data and it is selling its own product that go premium. So most of the companies, those numbers turned out to be red for you. If they go for the premium feature, it won't be red anymore. It will show the business, the purpose of the business, and it will be a normal call. So the fresh leads, no matter what we do, we need to create a ecosystem for prevention and for the security. Creating a anti-spam app system, whatever you call it, won't help, right? Because they will have fresh leads, and once they have fresh leads, they will spam us at the most. Then we need to pay a more higher price for it. So that's all.
That is correct, Manthan, because the most viruses are made by the antivirus companies. Similarly, the most spamming is being somehow directed by the anti-spamming companies. Uh,
On side note, thank you, Avino, for not making me feel older.
Thanks, Palashji, for being part of the conversation. Uh, so I guess we discussed a lot of great details today about the transition of Facebook into metaverse, and thanks everybody for joining the conversation. And it's another day. We were having this yesterday, and now in India, it's the conversation. And everybody enjoy the metaverse upcoming ahead, and have a great time. Anybody has any concluding thoughts? They are most welcome.
Thanks for hosting this, Ravi, and all of you guys. Thanks for sharing all the insights. Bye.
Are you going to do this more often, or are you already having a schedule?
Yeah, so I pretty much do it without any schedule, but since I'm running two companies, it's really hard to find time. But whenever I find a good time slot to uh, get out of thoughts and know